You're not paranoid.
Spike it.
Spike it. Spike it, ladies.
That used to be like an inside joke at my last job. Boost
To spike it?
No.
Oh.
But that could be an inside joke with my current job.
To boost
Spike
it?
it.
Spike
no.
it.
Last job, boost it. This job, spike it.
What if I just have my computer like this? Because
I like it.
I don't really need it for anything except to make sure it's recording.
Just to make sure it's going. Boom, diggity boom. Whoa.
Whoa.
I feel like your chair is talking to me. I can see its mouth open. It's like right
The
there.
computer?
The cushion. This part.
Uh-huh.
Wait, this part is like, it's cute. I like it.
Should I cross my
No,
legs the
I don't.
other way?
No, it's good. Only I can see it.
Only I can see it.
It's for my view only.
It's for-
view as myself.
Watching the videos that are hopefully going to be put up soon has made me really self-conscious about how I look.
Oh dear. No, we only will wear dark colors, hence my...
Well, I learned that from last week, from the one that's going to be posted.
From me or from you?
From me. You
For
looked
you.
good because you were wearing all black. And then I wore a yellow top that was not form-fitting.
Oh, that's awesome.
So then it matched the chair and it made me look
So
very
you're like,
big.
I am the chair.
Where does the chair end and where does
Katie
Katie start?
I love it. That's more fun though.
So
isn't
hopefully
it?
this is nicer.
For sure. It's like, oh, there you are. Not that you need to be defined because who is who anyways?
Who is
Like,
who?
where do the molecules of a chair begin and then your clothes begin end?
Well,
also?
isn't that the thing that you're technically never like actually sitting
Existed.
on something? It's like the layer of atoms are touching each other.
Yeah, the atoms are like like that. That's what it sounds like if you go on the like on the atomic scale.
It's probably really loud.
Yeah, they're just all going like that one, like mosquito, however that went. Had that sound stuck in my head today. Super dramatic.
I know I heard you earlier.
Thank you.
You're
I just
welcome.
like to sing in your house.
It's beautiful.
Thanks. That's how you know I'm comfortable. If I sing and toot, those are the musical things that come out of me. Both ends. That's how you know I'm comfortable.
You're musical out of both ends.
I'm just, they call me Musical Kai. Musical Kai, in case that was
Musical
not
Kai.
enunciated. Yeah.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
New nickname alert.
Musical Yeah, like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that used to be an app, wasn't it? Musically?
Oh, that was
Talk.
TikTok.
You say tick, I say talk. Tick, talk. We're still working on our video. For those who are wondering, where is it? Where are they?
We were experimenting.
It's what we do for a living and for podcasts. Hey, we're figuring it out. We like to just overcommit, underdeliver to ourselves. It is fine. You guys get it. Sometimes, like the Patreon, it doesn't happen. We're like, we're doing this. And then we're like, is it a good idea? We technically don't have to release any videos if we didn't want to. Because we still have the audio. That's the cool part. Or if like something does go glitchy. I mean, we're recording, right? Okay.
Like, let me see.
You're like, you look over there.
It was kind of loud.
Okay. Like we're yelling too much. Well, and I listened.
It worked very well. So we like
Optimized. That's good.
we don't have to talk like right into them.
Oh. So I don't have to do this.
Or
get
this.
super get super breathy.
I mean, you can do that, but
people will hate me. Understood.
well, but breathy wouldn't be loud. It's like we were
Breathy is
hitting
just
the red a
annoying.
lot
Oh, we were like, yeah. Got it.
through the video.
Stay out of
audio.
Oh. Stay out of the red. That red light on. This red light off.
Yeah.
Cool. Got it.
Got it.
That's my for
Sitting
those on
dance
the audio.
moves?
Yeah.
They're pretty sick.
Freaking sweet. You just have to move really fast. So then people don't know what you're doing until it's over. Then they're like, oh, that was a move. I think she's happy. I think that's how she conveys emotion.
That's how most people talk about me.
Sick.
Oh, she moved really fast. She must be happy.
That's true. Because as you can see, Katie does have facial emotions. They're just subtle.
It's because I have a smile.
And what do you call... You have no wrinkles, by the way, on any of your face. No.
Forehead ones.
Not really. Not like... Typically, people have these ones.
Oh.
But you don't scowl.
So I'm not angry.
No. But you're also not... No, I'm just kidding.
I don't...
I'm not...
display emotions.
Correct. That's why she's the robot. You already know. If you've been listening, you're paying attention. Good job.
It's fine because I won't have wrinkles.
Or feelings.
So,
It
it
works.
needs either of those things.
Yeah. Why get Botox when you could be robotic? They call it Botox.
Botox?
Robo-tox.
Robo-tox.
Robo-tox. Instead of Botox, just get a robot face.
Mm-hmm.
It controls your emotions for you.
Yep.
And then that means no emotion. Although I have heard, and then we should do that thing where we talk about ourselves. I have heard that sometimes Botox, because you can't move your face as much if you paralyze certain muscles, although quite aesthetically pleasing to the common norm of what people think is beautiful with no wrinkles, because you're not able to express emotion as easily, you do lose that, like, emotion.
Nuh-uh.
I've heard that. I don't know where. I don't think I made it up.
You
I
don't
swear.
think?
I don't think. I want to say I read it somewhere or heard it somewhere. Or because you can't, like, if you're always like this and you can't, like, smile or be upset, you kind of just become numb. Yeah. But if you, like, smile, like, they say, like, smiling makes you actually feel happier. Even if you're not happy, just smiling can make you feel happier. Is it working? All I can see are your eyes because the microphone's in your mouth. Whoa, not in your mouth. Not in your mouth.
I'm eating
on
the
your mouth.
microphone.
On your mouth.
No.
Anyways. Yeah, and then the lack of emotion can also make you more upset or feel like I said numb. Weird, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, dude.
Pretty sure it's real.
But you don't got wrinkles, so...
So you should be happy inside. Even if you don't feel like you convey it. Although if you do Botox correctly, because I've heard this as well, you should be able to move certain muscles still, but just not make like the scowling ones that make the wrinkles, you know? Mm-hmm. They got technology for that.
There we go.
It's called needles.
Hashtag ad for Botox.
Hashtag precision. Hashtag Robo-tox. What did we call it?
Sounds like you're talking about my butt.
Cat booty. No.
Robo-tox.
Robo-tox. That's
Robo-tox.
Right. Yeah.
Robo-tox.
Robo-tox. Correct. And that's all.
That's it.
That's our ad for this episode. Thank you for joining us for that. And we're back. Hello.
Hi,
I'm Kylie.
And I'm Katie.
And this is...
You Are Not Paranoid.
Podcast.
Ding, ding, ding.
This is us.
This is us. We said it once. We'll say it again.
It's not the show.
It's not the TV show, but it is still us.
Correct. So take
riddle,
it and take it.
Riddle
cool.
me that, NBC, or wherever it's on.
Hug it out. We're cool. Everything's good. We can both be here. Because there's a lot of This Is Us's. Like, picture frames say it.
Yeah,
our picture frame right there says it.
A lot of those, like, Hobby Lobby italicized frame writing things say This Is Us.
Yeah, I almost bought one the other day for our engagement party. That said This Is Us, but I was like, but This Is Us. Not This Is Us. It's different. I'm like, you're my other us. I have another us.
Ooh,
is that messed up?
No.
This is us, as in the podcast. So cool, but not the actual This Is Us podcast. I think there is such a thing. Is there?
Oh, like that talks about the show?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's very popular.
Correct.
Well, I mean, if not, we can just make one.
And then we can be like, This Is Us,
but
the podcast.
The twist is we don't watch it.
Right. We talk about it. We talk about the speculation of the show.
Just all the rumors and gossip.
Right. Yeah. I was going to come up with a little thing, but I lost it.
I'm sorry.
You're forgiven.
Thanks.
Here it is. Wait, I was going to tell you something funny and then I lost it.
Do you have something to tell me?
I always have something to tell you. That's... So I've been watching... You might not find this funny because I don't think you watched this show. Have you heard of Marvelous Miss Maisel?
No, but I want to watch it.
It's great. It's a great show. And I've been watching it a lot lately. And my fiance was... We were trying to figure out what to watch the other night, and we was like, we're not watching Mrs. Muffin. Or he called it like Marvelous Muffin or something like that. And it made me laugh because she does bake, but it has nothing to do with muffins.
I thought it was a comedy.
It is.
Okay. I want to make sure that I was...
It's a comedy, but also has really good like character development. I don't know. Season 3 is, I think, the most recent season, and I'm on that season right now. And that's when it starts getting like, I mean, all of them are good, but like the actual deep character development is like middle of season 2 through season 3. It's good. It gives me the chills because it's like both funny and good writing, but also good acting. And
Rare.
it's based in it's based in the 60s, and so it's fun because it's like a period piece. You get to see like their outfits and the the news and like what's important, and it's cool. What's like considered social norms and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
See, I don't like history. I like TV show and movie history.
Nice. I started watching Outlander.
What's that?
It is interesting because I like I don't know. It's on Netflix, and sometimes I just like run out of things, and then you're just scrolling. And I've heard of it. And then I just, like, watched it without reading more into it. So it wouldn't necessarily be something that I would have chosen because it's, like, sci-fi in the sense of she's, like, time traveling.
Oh.
But it's interesting because it's post-World War II. Yes, in England. And this couple is, like, on vacation because she was an army nurse. Like on the front lines. Oh,
Sorry.
no.
Corona.
No.
Continue.
And then her husband was like a spy type of guy. And so they finally meet up, and then they go on vacation in the Scottish Highlands. And then she goes to these like Stonehenge things. And then she wakes up and she's like in the 1700s.
Ooh, so there's mystical powers to the Stonehenge is all you're trying to say. I'm just kidding. That is cool. And then
so
she
it's kind of
wakes
cool.
up.
Yeah, because it's all like Scottish accents. And then they're fighting the British.
If you know Katie, she likes European stuff.
Yeah.
She's all about diet.
And the one guy's hot, so, of course. And it's like but then she like at first doesn't know what's happening, but then she's like, well, I guess I have to figure it out. And so then, but she's like married, but then like obviously they're like,
so she's in a different century.
Yeah, so she's like, is this count?
Is it? That's pretty messed up.
But yeah, I've only watched a few episodes. But we'll see.
Oh, cool.
Because they open the show with her like in her ancient garb, like running down the street, and some car pulls over, and he's like, what's wrong? And she's like, did like so and so win the war or something? And they're like, no.
Wait, so it's the opposite, where she's from the 1700s?
Well, but that's just the opening like of the first
so you're not, like,
episode,
sure.
And then it has nothing to do with that.
Ooh, so it could be that you're back in time, and then eventually I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just got all the body chills. Now I'm curious.
So now I was like, now I feel like I have to watch it.
Ooh,
just to
even
figure out.
My head has chills right now. Look.
Yay.
My ankles. Ooh, no. Ooh, don't look too close. I didn't shave.
I haven't either. That's why I've got my high top mocks on.
Nice. Can always count on those. I got my pointies.
Ooh.
Boink, watch out.
Ah.
But here we are. That's
All right.
cool. We like to do little
snips.
recaps of things. That was too whistly of an S. I apologize. Even I didn't like that. Cool. Well, because I can't stand the whistling S, but I do it.
I think everyone does it
issue.
sometimes.
There are some people who don't do it, and I feel like the only way to do that is
No, I feel like I'm going to do it.
Is to not talk so loud. I don't know how to make my S.
But I feel like a whispering S is more of a like whistly S.
Excuse me. That's what we do.
That
We
was a
blow our
quick one.
burps away.
Yeah, so
You
we
said
don't
that was
smell
a Groupon? What'd you call it?
You said that. I said that was a quick one. Because you went and then turned real quick.
Well, I can't let it get into the audience.
Yeah, they might smell it.
Yeah. Ooh, can you imagine if it was like a little, you can do like a green cloud effect, like,
Ew.
that'd be kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But gross.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
And here we go.
Episode,
Ready.
I almost said 1. Wow.
We're starting
Episode
over.
1. It's actually 51.
51.
It's kind of like halfway starting over to 100.
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting.
Ooh.
We're over the hump.
For now.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Baby steps.
We're on to the next hump.
Next chapter of humps. Here we are. Okay.
Well, I don't know if we want to say.
We just like to make it funny. We've
Because
heard that children have referenced our website, by the way.
Yeah.
But not the podcast.
I hope not.
I don't think they listen to the podcast.
I hope not.
Technically, we are not inappropriate. We don't say curse words. Hump is like the back of a camel. Could also mean a hump in the hill, a hill hump. I don't know.
I think this episode might get.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah. On YouTube, when you upload videos, it's like real weird. It's like, does this video include children?
Ew.
And I'm like, no. And then it's like, is it suitable for children? You have to go through all these like boxes. And I'm like, no. And then it's like, is there anything you'd like to add?
Like,
yeah. I don't think so.
Like being interrogated by YouTube before you upload it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you a criminal? Like, we talk about criminals.
But are you asking, am I?
Then the answer is no.
No.
But
there's this one time.
This one time in Europe. That's funny.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay, well, viewer discretion is advised. And listener
episode.
discretion is advised. Mostly listener, actually. Viewer, we're not going to do anything crazy. No, but really, listener, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Who's ever... Yeah, because we don't have it transcribed. So it's just listening.
Listeners.
Audience member.
Audience.
Fan of the show.
People. Discretion is advised. I couldn't think of the second word. Because for some reason, viewer discretion makes sense, but listener discretion is real hard to say.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I got through it.
You did, and congratulations.
You're going to say something about correcting. I like it.
No. I was going to say congratulations, but I got tripped up and it sounded like congratulations.
As we're saying that, our show is suitable for children, typically, in terms of listening, because we're not... I wouldn't say inappropriate. Sometimes we make little funny jokes here and there, but so do all the Disney movies.
Yeah, but I think the themes are usually darker.
Correct. But they're the things that can be learned about. So if nothing else, we're not saying children should listen to it, but if their parents thought they wanted them to, it's like my mom letting me watch Law and Order. Like, probably shouldn't have been watching it when I was 8, but I was. It was on TV. No bad words. Real bad themes. To be fair, I think I was like 10, but whatever. You get what I'm saying.
I do.
Cool, thanks. Have you ever watched Law & Order?
Nope.
Oh my god.
I was an NCIS.
Okay, that's how it works, though. You're either NCIS or you're Law & Order. You're not both, because I didn't like NCIS.
Well, I don't like it now either.
Oh, okay. Well, fair.
It's like I could write an episode of it. It's the same every
Well,
episode.
Law & Order kind of is, too. It always starts with a crime, and then you're figuring out what happened.
Yeah, and it's always the first person they interview because they dismiss him right away. There's no way it could be this person. And then it's like, plot twist, it was him.
Like, big surprise. Mm-hmm. And also, not all scientists are that quirky.
And, like, she's just an expert on all of the science.
Anything related in the DNA comes back like this. Mm-hmm. They're like, yep, that's his.
She's like, by the end of my monologue, we will have a match.
Yeah, that's not how it works. We should make a real life science show.
It
takes like 2 seasons to find out.
Like just
Is
one
it a
piece
match?
of evidence.
Yeah.
Not even the crime.
Right.
Or solving the crime.
No, yeah. Not even. Yeah. Figuring out who are narrowing down the suspects. It's takes a lot of time.
Yeah, that would be funny. Just
Like
because it would be
real
so
time.
boring.
It's just us running PCR like
Oh, this one didn't come out. We need different primers.
us on like the website designing primers.
It's like who ordered them?
Damn it. Like redo it. Maybe this region. That's too many C's and G's. Redo this.
I'm like just cleaning glassware.
Kate, it's like remember we talked about this. We need to make one called the lab.
Oh, yeah.
We should really do that. Let's start writing a script. And then it'll just be like us like walking to the autoclave with like, but you're like trying to hurry up and beat someone else because like you're always battling that person for the autoclave, but then they always leave their stuff in there and you take it out. Yeah.
And then we could put their autoclave stuff in jelly or jello.
Yeah.
Like on The Office.
Right. Like get your beaker now, Beezy. And it's like floating like, you get it. Cool. Good times. Or pipettes, but pipettes would get actually messed up.
Yeah.
Like a stapler, pipettes, they're expensive. So, beakers will do.
Huh?
Beakers.
Oh, yes.
Well, huh?
Huh?
Beakers can float in Jello.
Yay.
Okay, so, I know, this episode is heavy.
It's a doozy.
Mega dooz. Because, as we discussed...
Oh, no.
It's not recording.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's on the built-in microphone.
What happened?
That's recording on these. We can stop it. Let's see. I was like, why is it not? Hello?
Hello?
All right, there it goes.
Oh, no. So what does that mean?
That means 20 minutes was on my laptop.
Oh.
But I think I can just use that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because you can separate the audio.
But it's still through these?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
So yeah, this one, I just basically record it on this as like a backup.
Got it.
But because this is being fed into the camera, then this quality microphone is
That'll
in
be
the camera.
real funny to see our reactions. You're like, oh no, and I'm like, what? What?
Sorry.
You're like, Gilly, Carter, and you're like, what? You know what, dude? We've been through so much. It happens. We got backups to the backups. Be sick.
We are doing it.
So then now it's gonna get sad again. So
yeah, let's
get serious. Focus. 2 episodes ago, deep breaths. 2 episodes ago, we talked about the topic that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, because we told our stories.
Which were...
About random people coming up to us
in
public spaces.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. And, that gives me the heebie-jeebies all over again.
Yeah, I couldn't verify if that was true or like an urban legend.
Ooh, really? Okay, well, let's talk about it. So we're talking about human trafficking. And it is... I feel like I'm going to give myself a backache right now. Because I'm all tense.
I know, I'm like shrinking back again into my chair because I'm nervous and sad.
Yeah, we're like... we are nervous to talk about this, and honestly, this could be, as we've said about many episodes, an entirely separate podcast. So there's so much more to know, and maybe at some other point we'll talk more about these things. Sorry. I moved them, Brooke.
I think I moved it.
We moved it together.
Aww,
it's like
Ouija
the
board?
Ouija. You have to commit together.
Oh,
it's our Ouija rug.
I'm scared.
Anywho, so I know I'm scared too, but yeah. So human trafficking. There are many types, and that is what Katie is going to start us off with. I kind of feel like we could maybe go back and forth a little bit. Like I'll double check my notes and stuff and also have some stories. So I don't know if it's better to do some stories in the beginning, get people interested.
Yes.
Not interested, but you know what I mean. Intrigued and shocked and freaked out. Cool. Do you want to start us off with a story?
I don't have a story.
Okay. I will start us off with a story. And then one of the websites that I referenced is called Hope for Justice.
Okay.
I actually have 3 stories. Is that too many? Okay. I'll be fast. It's called Hope for Justice, and there's actually a lot of organizations that are dedicated to human trafficking, which I think is really good. I think it's better to have more resources than less. But I think it would be nice to have more cohesiveness, so it's all in one place, or they all work together, rather than like different kinds working towards the same thing. You know?
Yeah.
I've kind of noticed that. But anyways. Okay, so this story, it has her first name. I don't know if that's her real first name, but I'm just gonna, I'll say her name because they post it, so I assume she wants to be talked about, or she wants her story heard. So her name is Caliana, and she was from she's still alive. She's from a super conservative, I don't know why I was saying was. She's from a super conservative upbringing. She wanted to move to the city, and wherever she's from, wanted to move to the city away from home and prove that she can get a good job, live on her own, you know, make her parents proud. And so she bought a bus ticket, and I believe this was like on her way to the city to like make it big, you know, whatever that means. We're all trying to make it big around here. She met another young girl who quickly befriended her, and they talked about what they're going to do when they get to the big city. But at the last stop, her new friend offered to quickly jump off and get some sodas for them. And so when she came back with 2 bottles of Coca-Cola, and they drank them. Little did Caliana know that her friend spiked it and put a sedative that quickly took effect on her, and she essentially passed out. There was a group of men who took Caliana, drugged, off of the bus and into a hotel where she was raped and was basically forced to make money for them by having sex with other men. And months later, she actually was rescued by the police and brought to this organization, Hope for Justice. They call it the Dream Home. So it's like a rehabilitation place for the people who are, you know, victims of trafficking, to feel safe and, you know, get the therapy that they need to be basically ready to trust people again and like live their life out normally. So now she lives in the city. She has her own cafe and has reconciled with her family, and she's free.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? So the interesting thing about human trafficking is that there's several kinds. So there's a few different stories. This one, his name is Edward. Let me make sure I'm muted here. And he actually tells his story. This one is a different type of story. So this man wanted to make enough money for his daughter to go to school. And so he was told about a good job in England, so that him and a couple other people took the job. And they were told that they were going to make really good money. And he was like, okay, I want to support my child. I want to take care of her. And then they were picked up and driven to a ferry in England. And when they got there, they said, you know, work really hard. You're going to work long hours. But once you finish this job, you'll get paid very well. So then he said that they worked really hard, worked those long hours. And when they were done, they were never paid. They were locked up.
What?
Like literally locked up, like in a, he didn't describe it in detail, but like a mini cell. And
like by the people or by the
by the
police?
Employer.
Oh.
By the person who said, oh, we're going to give you, you know, money to do these, like, it must have been like a harder job. He said that they forced them to do more work. They would beat and threaten them if they didn't finish the work. They couldn't go anywhere because they took their passports, their ID, and all of their money. Jeez. I'm assuming when they got there, kind of like, oh, like, let us, you know, have your stuff. We'll run your records.
Yeah.
And then just not give it back to them. He said that they were stuck and he felt hopeless and powerless. He had to do, fixing up houses, doing gardening. He had to move things that he couldn't even lift, super heavy things. And if you just look at the video, he's not like, not that it matters how old you are, but he's not like a, bodybuilder. And he had to work from very early morning to late at night, 7 days a week. And all that they were given were tobacco, alcohol, and bread and butter. Jeez. And that's how he lived. And he said that he felt like he was absolutely a slave. He was hungry, sick, and tired all the time. He was sold from person to person, and people would barter for him right in front of him.
What?
One man even said that he wasn't worth 300 pounds, as in money. Yeah, British money, right? And that he felt worthless and like trash, and he wanted to die. And he's decided that he would rather be killed trying to get away than die in the hands of, being imprisoned by these people. And he said that he knew one guy that lived really far away, but he didn't have money or any way to get there. So he just, I believe in plain, like, I don't know if it was at night or what. He doesn't go into detail, but he basically just walked away very quickly without, like, causing a scene. And he ended up walking for 10 days straight without stopping and walked about 200 miles.
What?
Yeah. And he got scared and he was lost. And all he could think about was that they were going to get him and they're going to find him because they were, keeping him locked up. And all he thought was about his daughter and how much he had let her down. And he felt shameful and cold and hungry and alone. He eventually reached the city, but he didn't have any way to find his friend because he didn't really know where he lived. And after walking 200 miles, you're probably so confused and starving and going insane. And then he ended up, they don't go into how, but he basically met these people and found someone to help him find the hope for justice, and then ended up getting him into, rehabilitation to live his life again as a free person. And that's what a lot of these things say is like, I'm so free. Like, I'm so happy to be free.
That's crazy.
A girl, I mean, it's not just, girls, as sometimes people might think, or females being drugged. It could be something like this. And then this other story, last one that I have right now, really, was shocking. This one is called Zoe's story. And she was rescued from sexual exploitation in the UK. So essentially, this one is about, I believe it's a volunteer who works at Hope for Justice. And I'm just going to go off memory for this one. But essentially, he was like a retired, negotiator? The person who during... We're going to call him a negotiator. The person, when there's there are people who are trying to commit suicide or holding hostages, that's a negotiator, right? Cool. So they had intel that there was this girl named Zoe and that she was being trafficked by these extremely dangerous criminals. And so they essentially had to act fast. Oh yeah, this is a longer story, but they basically had to act fast and get to her location if they wanted to rescue her. And so they were able to track her down and meet with her, and they're trying to explain hi, we're here to help you. This is what we're here for, And the negotiator was saying that in all of his years, he's had 100% success rate. Wow. 100% success rate for, victims or hostages rather being okay and someone not killing themselves, et cetera, et cetera. And, so he was talking to her and explaining hey, we're here to help you, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, right then and there, after talking to her, he saw her turn around and get into the cab and go right back with the people.
What? Because
she was scared and couldn't believe that people actually wanted to help her, and that feeling, and we'll talk about it more, but she walked away. And that was the first time that this negotiator had ever seen someone basically had a failure where he wasn't able to convince them to come with him. And eventually they didn't give up, and then they ended up tracking her down again. and she still didn't know whether or not the rescue was real. And eventually she was encouraged to come to the Hope for Justice.
Wow.
But at first she actually turned it down because when you're in that environment, as we'll talk about, like, I can't even imagine. Mm-hmm. But those are a few of the stories. And there's several stories all over the internet, especially on this one website. And of course, we'll have our links on our website, you'renotparanoid.com, so that people could read their stories and get more informed.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like when I was reading these stories, I was holding my breath the whole time. And there are several different types, but we'll talk about that. So, Katie.
Yes.
What is human trafficking?
What is it? Let me tell you with my notes.
Tell me with your memory. Just kidding.
I don't know all of my memory.
None of us know the potential of our memory.
So, where is it? All right. The U.S. laws define human trafficking as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person into commercial... into commercial sex acts or labor or services against their will. The exception is minors, where inducing a minor into commercial sex is to commercial sex acts or labor is human trafficking regardless of the presence of the other things.
Right.
Like fraud or coercion.
Just because the fact that they're a minor.
Yes.
And it's inherently against their will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I forgot where I got this information, but I'll have it on the website. The way that they describe it as action means purpose, to like kind of help you understand the law. A trafficker has to take action and then employs means of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of compelling a victim to provide commercial sex acts, labor, or services. So a minimum of one of the elements of each needs to be present in order to establish a potential situation for human trafficking. Mm-hmm. So it has to have at least one of the actions, one of the means, and one of the purposes. And then the website had like basically just different verbs for like means and action. Like the action could be intimidation, like physical abuse.
Got it.
Like several.
Drugged, yeah.
Several things like that. But so there has to be at least one action, one mean, and one purpose for it to be human trafficking under U.S. law.
Got it. In order not like if you're not doing that, you're not trafficking, but I think more in the way of they can legally arrest them or take them in. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yep. Other examples are emotional abuse, economic abuse, isolation. So that's kind of the what it is / how. Or I have the how. I don't know if you want me to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad. There was another website that had like very common myths for human trafficking. And it said one of the biggest myths was that like the way that victims are gotten. Like how they're able to be like, how traffickers get their victims. The myth or the general assumption is through violence or like kidnapping, something like that. Mm-hmm. But most of the time it's not, and it's more of the psychological or emotional manipulation in order to get control of their victims. And sadly, most of the traffickers are known to the victim. It's not always random kidnappings.
Wow.
So it's the whole idea of like pretending to be the boyfriend at first, like, online dating, and then it's like, oh, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, and then it slowly evolves over time until he is like the trafficker and she's the victim. Another sad thing that I didn't really know about was that the foster care system is a big way that traffickers get their victims.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And even like the U.S. State Department in 2018, it like admitted that is an issue. So one of the ways that traffickers get foster kids, it can be either like while they're still in the foster care system or when they age out of it, because that means, you know, someone obviously never got like a home or a family. And so they'll pose as like the caring person. They'll show them all the things that they had been wanting this whole time, like, you know, love, support, like a home. And then it's that same thing where, like, once they have them, their trust, then, you know, the tables turn. So I thought that was really sad. Or it said that they'll have young girls go into the foster homes and, like, convince, like, other girls to come with her.
Yeah.
Kind of like you were saying.
I feel like I would have guessed, like you were just saying at the beginning of the episode, where based on our last stories, like, oh, is that a myth that girls get other girls to join, or friends get friends to join, not to join, but
To
convince them to let their guard
them
down for a second to then be in that position or trust them.
Yeah.
It seems like that is really common.
So that's sadly a common way of getting victims for human trafficking. There's a lot of information on that. Like if you just Google it. And then I think someone like wrote an article or like a documentary or something where it's like the intersections between like the foster care system, like homelessness, like human trafficking, and like prison. And it's all like
interconnected.
Weirdly, connected.
I mean, it makes sense because it's probably through a lot of the same manipulation and channels and like basically one thing, like, you know, wrong circumstance, bad circumstances, bad choices, or cards dealt to you leads to X, which leads to, you know, Y and Z. Do you know the name of that documentary?
Where's my phone? Yeah, I don't remember I think I saved it. The website. It was one where I don't think it would necessarily be on something like Netflix. It seemed kind of more of like an independent film. It's called Breaking the Cycle.
Yeah, I feel like that's applicable to all of those things you just mentioned, so I can see how those can be intertwined as well.
Yeah. And then, let's see. That's kind of the how, and then I just have stats.
I was just going to say on the movie side of things, the movie Taken. Did you ever see that?
With Liam?
Yeah. I always picture Bruce Willis being in that film for some reason. I don't know why. But, yeah, it's with Liam. Where his daughter becomes also into human trafficking. And that starts out with a cute guy that they meet on the street or something like that. And like, oh, like, let's go hang out. And it always starts with like that, the face of it, right? Is always like trusting and like, just like me.
Yeah.
But they're bad people.
I know.
Ugh, gives me like
it's just
the
gross.
heebie-jeebies. Yeah. Just to think that you can. I mean, that's where people have problems trusting strangers because you don't know what their motive is.
Yeah.
What are your stats? I have how to spot like the signs of trafficking, and then also on how to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think those would be good for the afters.
Cool.
All right. Here is to make you more sad.
That's not the point.
No, but I mean...
But it's the truth, and I think it's important. Or we think it's important.
It's sobering because it's not something you think about. And I think somewhere I read it was like the hidden, like they called it like the hidden crime or something. Like you don't ever see it, or you don't think it's happening where you live, but
or it's in plain sight.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah.
20 to 40 million people are in what is called modern slavery. Like, so it's interchangeable, the words. Like, people use slavery or trafficking, and it can encompass, like you were saying, more than just the sex trafficking. Some of these are from USA Today. 4 million victims of... there are 4 million victims of sex trafficking globally.
That's a lot of effing people.
3.8 million adults and 1 million kids.
Oh.
So this is from the UN's International Labor Organization. They did a study. 99. So this is more focusing on the sex trafficking specifically. 99% are women and girls. There's no official estimate of the traffic victims in the U.S., but in 2019, the State Department released a report saying the top 3 countries for human trafficking were the U.S., Mexico, and the Philippines. And sadly, 1 in 7 reported runaways in the U.S. are likely victims of child sex trafficking. That was in 2018. That's from a group we've talked about before, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Kids. I think we talked about that in the baby stealing episode. This is another stat from something I just talked about. Girls in foster care are particularly vulnerable. Oh, I had a direct quote from that website. I wanted to read this. So in recent years, this is from the USA Today. In recent years, a pipeline from the foster care system to trafficking has gained attention. A report from Human Rights Project for Girls, Georgetown Law Center on Poverty and Inequality, and Miss Foundation for Women supports the finding. It's titled The Sexual Abuse to Prison Pipeline. The report found that girls who grow up in the instability of the child welfare system, particularly those placed in multiple homes, are, quote, vulnerable to the manipulation of traffickers who promise to love and care for them. Indeed, some traffickers purposely troll for youth in the certain group homes because they are aware of this vulnerability. I know. So it's like as if it's not bad enough. They have like these traffickers trying to get them.
What's so messed up is that I feel like there are so many good people who do want to foster children, and yet how are all of these a-holes like infiltrating the system?
Well, it's probably they have like the people that the front people that look all nice and you know what I mean,
secretly evil.
Yeah,
wish there was a a-hole screening.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Not like a colonoscopy, but like a bad person screening.
Person.
To clarify, in case anyone was wondering.
Like, they already have that. Profits from forced sex labor are roughly $99 billion worldwide. The profits are the highest per sex trafficking victim is in developed countries. So, you know, you think it's this thing that doesn't happen because we're civilized. Well, it happens, and people make the most money in countries like ours. And I think one of the saddest parts too, and I see this like on, I don't like the true, or not like cops because I don't think they deal with it most, but like the ones that do Vice, and stuff. The victims are still commonly arrested for the crimes that they have been forced to commit by the traffickers. So it's like the same thing with like pimps and stuff, where it's the girls who are getting arrested. Yeah,
the sex workers, even though they are being basically forced to, not all, and that's not to say all sex workers are, but in the case where there's like a pimp and it is trafficking.
Like the pimp never gets in trouble and the Johns never get in trouble.
Yeah.
It's only the sex worker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an issue too, and especially in these, regardless if it's like, I guess that would be human trafficking too. If it's against your will, then you shouldn't be going to jail for it.
It's similar to I remember reading stories of like kids being forced to sell drugs, stuff like that, where it's like, technically this kid is a drug dealer, but if they are being told do this or we'll kill your family, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. So, and then maybe you'll talk about it. Hopefully more people can like learn to see like the signs. So other things that can be considered human trafficking, we've mentioned manual labor, marriage, and organ removal. So
Excuse me?
So there's that. And then I think one of the saddest ones, and then I think I'll end on that, is that only about 0.04% of survivors of human trafficking are ever identified. So
what does that mean?
A fraction of a percent. That, like, more people obviously survive, like, and can get out, but that ever say anything. It's like they estimate,
the traffickers.
No, the
survivors
that actually come forward and say they're estimating it's about only 0.4%.
Well, considering how many people are being trafficked, yeah. Well, then, this is how to spot these people who are the victims.
Oh, before you get to that, did you remember when we were at the airport for work, we saw that sign? It was like, I don't know if we can say, if you want to say the actual airport, but
we don't have to say the airport.
When we were by the bathrooms, there was like a poster, and it was like, how to spot, or like a.
Oh, you should have taken a picture.
I know. I think it was something like that, because that's obviously a common place that you would see it. But I just remember seeing that sign of like what to look for, like
in trafficking, because people are like, I feel like they're transported or travel like, ugh, and then also reading, I have all the like icky chills. Excuse me. Reading this stuff that I'm about to like read to you as well. It's just, it makes you stop and think like, have I seen someone like that before? And it kind of makes you take a second to reassess a situation that you see. Because what I'm going to tell you, it's like, oh wow, that could literally be 20 million people.
Wow.
Like we're talking, like that's what you said, right? It's up to 20 million people. It's like, well, there could be that many people. Like I could see how that is possible, how it is in our everyday life, and we just don't know. And that's not to say it's anyone's fault, but that's why we're doing this, right? So that we can talk about it and learn about it and, see what could be done. But it's just like, ugh. And it's not to say that people we know might not, with those odds, like someone who knows someone could be involved or be a victim or a survivor for that matter and are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, or it could be just like on any scale where it's
exactly.
Like, I remember someone was telling me about like this really messed up documentary where the mom was selling her own children.
Yeah.
So it's like, it could be on just the scale of just an individual person, not like a whole organized crime ring.
Exactly. Okay, so this is from that Hope for Justice website, and I liked, there are several websites, and I'll probably have all the links on the website so everyone can like read through them, because they all have a little bit different take on things. Yeah. But this one is 6 different key areas to know. So there are general indicators, and that's for like the overall concept of human trafficking. There's sexual exploitation, forced labor, child abuse, criminal activities, and domestic servitude. Jeez. So there are many. And then let me actually go back. This one. Nope. Thank you. That's a sign. I forgot there was a sign here.
Oh.
Oh, where did my other link go?
Uh-oh.
Oh. Ah, there it is.
Here we go.
So there's another website as well called Polaris.
Oh, yeah.
And that one's big. And one of their sayings is not knowing the signs, it's knowing the story. And so no understanding how these things go. Not just little thing. Like you were saying, there's more to it than just, oh, that person, is doing X. That means it's for sure this. Like, it's much more complex than that, as you've talked about. And essentially what they're talking about is that when we talk about this, it's beyond just, noticing and reporting those signs or indicators. And like you mentioned, it's not so far away. It's actually in our everyday lives. And as we kind of grow to understand how complex this crime is, and seeing from different angles on how to approach it, essentially these organizations are trying to educate people on how we can help eliminate it or, educate. Because there are some, as we'll talk about, there are some employers who don't even realize it's happening under their own noses.
Wow.
Like the servitude or something like this. Okay. So this one was saying, there's this one that, sorry. Resources and reports. There's this one that had like a whole section on like what it is. Okay, we're going to skip that because there we go. So, general indicators. So, trafficking victims could be often lured to another country, like that one man was lured to England. And that was just one example. Actually, I think this particular organization, Hope for Justice, is based in, they have locations in the UK, the US, Norway, Cambodia, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Ethiopia, and Vietnam.
Wow.
And so I think they're more international and trying to, and that's why if you hear like talking about international, that's because they are international, trying to track how that happens, because it's not just local. It is sometimes moving people from place to place, and that's how you can avoid, they avoid getting caught. Different, legislation, or different, legislation, right? Basically trying to never be in one place. Yeah,
and I'm sure that they can use that against them too, of like, well, if you just go out on the street, like you don't have any paperwork. Yeah, you're going to get arrested. Or
so these people who are the trafficking victims could be fearful of, and this is from the hopeforjustice.org, so if I'm reading it verbatim, that's where I'm getting it from. They're afraid of police or authorities. They're, afraid of the trafficker themselves. And they can believe that their family's lives are at risk if they try to escape, because they'll like threaten, oh, I'll kill your family, or, often I feel like they get to know them or ask them enough questions at the beginning to kind of like that one girl did to me at Sprouts, where she was like asking me, oh, like, what do you do? And I was just like, blah, 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 divulging this information because she seemed normal. But then what if she were to tell the person who's in charge, and then they manipulate and use it against me, or use it against, which is what they do. They use it against the victim. If they have, physical or psychological signs of trauma, like anxiety or lack of memory, if they have, bruising or untreated conditions, if they're afraid to talk to anyone about their situation, or sometimes they're unaware that they're even being trafficked, and they just think that they have a bad job.
Oh, no.
Like they have really bad, employment situation. They have limited freedom of movement. They are not paid at all, or if they are, very little. They don't have much access to medical care, because they're essentially restricting them from everything. They're maybe in debt to someone, like they feel like they owe someone something. they don't have a passport, or they mention that someone else is holding their passport for them, and if they're regularly moved to avoid detection, or if, and this one was interesting, but they have it on here, so it's serious. They believe that they're being controlled by the use of witchcraft.
Oh.
I did not know that was a thing in this realm.
Mm-hmm.
So for sexual exploitation, they're saying that normal housing or even hotels nowadays are more and more often being used as brothels.
Mm-hmm.
And so people can be forced into sexual exploitation, moving between brothels or city to city, or they're forced to sleep at their work. They don't really have a lot of clothing on, which I feel like I've seen that before. Like in, even here in the U.S., like there's some cities that, maybe you're in Las Vegas or something, but like if that blends in with what a lot of people are dressing like, even though it is more, revealing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, oh, that's appropriate for this area, but you don't know
Mm-hmm.
who they're with, or it's like, oh, is that their boyfriend?
Yeah,
Or
I think that's the hardest part.
you don't want to be rude, you're not sure, So anyways, and maybe they have substance abuse problems. So I really thought about the Taken movie, because in that movie they're like forcing drugs into her.
Yeah, I feel like
and
that's
you're like,
common.
oh, you're just a junkie or this and that, and it's like she's not, like, these people didn't start like this, like they're being forced. They're subjected to either abduction or then become assaulted and raped. They are intimidated or forced or coerced into providing sexual services. They're unable, like we said, unable to travel freely, and their money from their services are provided, or the money from the services are collected by another person. So in that case, it kind of reminds me of like a pimp situation. For forced labor, and this is kind of like the one I was talking about with, I believe his name was Edward. Yes. Just want to make sure I got his name right. They might threaten you, or, sorry. So work is basically done, this is the quote, where all the work is done under the menace of a penalty, or the person has not offered themselves voluntarily and is now unable to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're being threatened, or if there's actual physical harm, they're being confined, like they literally can't go anywhere. They're in debt to someone, or they're working to pay off a debt. Sometimes I'm sure if they're able to keep them there long enough, they probably make them feel like they have a debt to them, even if they don't.
Yeah.
Or that thing where they threaten their family, if you don't work for us. And like that one guy has a daughter, and maybe he mentioned like, oh, I'm working, so I want to send my daughter to school. It's like, well, we'll kill your daughter if you don't do this work. Not paying, or, excessively reducing the pay, holding the passport or security card, which is like literally what happened to that poor man. The threat of revealing to authorities that someone's immigration status is irregular. So like you were saying, like, oh, I'm going to turn you over to the police if you don't stick with us. Like, we'll, keep you safe, but you have to work for us. They're so maybe like the employer is unable to produce documents. They have no health or safety standards. They are required to pay for tools and food, which I thought was interesting. I'm sure these are all from like a collection of cases. Yeah. They're dependent on an employer for any kind of service. They have no access to any of their labor contracts, or they have excessive work hours and no breaks.
Wow. Speaking of the, when you were saying that a lot of the hotels are being turned into brothels, I forget what it is, and we can link it on our website. But I know that on My Favorite Murder and That's Why We Drink, I think, we're talking about that app that you can download and help. I don't know if it's like a federal agency, but it's an app where essentially anytime you travel, you can take pictures of your hotel room and then put it on that app, and that helps people who are looking into human sex trafficking, because like on the dark web or the deep web, they'll have photos of girls in the hotel rooms, and then with like, like the smart computer people, they can like match the room. So then like you'll put like, this is room, I don't know how specific, but you'll say like at this hotel in this city.
Yeah,
and
so like matches the style or something.
Yeah, it can help them So if you want to do that.
Dang, that's really cool. Yeah, we'll put that on our website as well. Child abuse. So maybe the child is, mistrusting, or they call it I don't know how to pronounce this. Truanting?
Truanting? Like from school or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Oh.
Like often they're not going to school.
Mm-hmm.
They're super secretive or have unexplained money or presence, because they'll often, I know this is such an awful conversation. Let me go back to the quote. An abuse of a child's vulnerability by a person's position of power or trust, exploiting that position to obtain sexual services in exchange for some form of favor, such as alcohol, drugs, attention, or gifts. So they might have little money, money or gifts, which if you're a parent or a sibling or something like this, like kids don't just get money.
Yeah.
I mean, or if you ask them, they should be able to give you an answer like, "Oh, I sold my toy," or something like that.
Or I did chores or something.
Or I did chores. But you would know because you're either the parent or you're the sibling, and you're like, "Why am I not getting paid for chores?" Or something like this. Or if they're experimenting with drugs or alcohol because maybe they're given that, and so then they become dependent on it, or in the way of suppressing things, and they become dependent. Associating with or being groomed by older people and not in normal networks. In relationships with significantly older people.
Yeah.
Taking part in it's like literally pains me to talk about.
I know, it makes me feel gross.
Yeah, it is gross. Taking part in social activities with no plausible explanation, which I think that means like certain types of social activities, or just like people who they don't, like you wouldn't think that they know, or something like this. Or if they're seen entering or leaving with unknown adults, which is, if I was a parent, or even my little brother, or any family member for that matter, if I saw them entering and leaving with someone I didn't know or didn't recognize, that person is going down.
Yeah.
I'm like, who the F are you? Why are you talking to my family? Showing evidence of physical or sexual assault, and that includes STDs.
Jeez.
And showing signs of low self-image, or if they're, committing self-harm or have an eating disorder. And then there's two more that are like the bigger overarching types of trafficking. These could be criminal activities where the person is, and this is, I guess I just wanted to say all these because this is the spectrum. This is how you get to 20 million to, was it 20 million to 40 million?
Said 20 to 40.
That's a very wide range. That's literally double, but it's like, this is where it's happening.
And it's hard to report just because, like the other stat, there's hardly anyone that ever comes forward who do survive to begin with. And
then, like, how do you say that, that girl was just that, or that person was just like a drug addict? It's like, were they the product of someone trafficking them, and then they dumped their body out into the street, and then they don't know?
Yep.
Ugh. And of course that goes for every topic, not just drugs. I think that's just an easy one to think of.
Well, yeah, and it's probably a very common way to control people.
Yeah. Criminal activities, so the person could be recruited or they're forced or deceived into conducting some kind of criminal activity, such as pickpocketing, begging, cannabis cultivation, and benefit fraud. So these could be like the windows of the property are covered from the inside, which that to me could be like any of these things.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's like this freakiest thing when you see windows covered. If there are people are visiting the property at unusual times, the property could be residential, could be next door, just hiding in plain sight. If you hear unusual noises coming from the property, like machinery, I think that's in the way of like forced labor, or pungent smells coming from the property, which I'm assuming is related to like cannabis. Or
if they're confining people in like cell type things.
There's pictures of some of the living situations, and it's sickening. It's so awful. And lastly, and this is the website I was trying to find, and when you like see it and you're like, oh, that's great, save it for later. I cannot find where on the website I saw this, because it actually broke these 5 into like 25 categories, more specific, because they did research. And we're basically like, okay, we took all of the cases that we have, and we're able to break them down into more specific types. So it could be like a form of, you know, like the one I'm talking about, like domestic servitude, but then it breaks it down to specific types of domestic servitude. So like, you know, massage parlors versus like house cleaning versus like gardening, you know, those kinds of things. So I'll find that one. Once I find that, will go on the website too. And I don't need to speak about every single one because we don't have time for a one episode, but you get it. So for domestic servitude, so this one, they say that this one's a particularly serious form of denial of freedom, because it includes the feeling of being obligated to provide certain services and the obligation to live on another person's property without the possibility of changing those circumstances. So feeling like you're literally in debt to these people. And so that could be why you never get out, because you're in this, like you're saying, the cycle of constantly, you know. So these victims could be living or working for a family in a private home, but they don't get to eat with the rest of the family. They don't have a bedroom or any proper sleeping place. They have no private space. They're forced to work excessive hours or are considered like on call 24 hours a day. They never leave the house without the employer. You know, malnourished, or they could be reported missing or accused of a crime by their employer if they do try to escape.
Wow.
Yeah, so in that case, it kind of sounds like a nanny that is forced to be a nanny, essentially. And that's where the whole concept of, what's it called, when you don't want to leave your captor?
Oh, Stockholm Syndrome?
Stockholm Syndrome, where people do feel like they're stuck, like there is no way out. And these people aren't, you know, the traffickers are extremely manipulative. How else would you be getting 20 million to 40 million people?
Yeah, now it's like it's like tied into like organized crime and like gangs, and so it's like they're obviously very violent and have, you know, weapons and all that stuff. So it's not like you can just like walk out. Yeah,
exactly. So those are some things on how, you know, you can spot people. And then I'm going to talk about some things you can do to help, which is good. And then there's other websites too that talk about how to spot people who may be, you know, victims of trafficking. But any way you see it, like, it's probably a lot of people who are victims might be like Zoe, that one girl who didn't believe that someone was looking for her, or looking to help her. Like, why would you want to help me? Like, who's looking for me? Because I'm sure once you're in it long enough, you don't trust anyone except for the people who do what they say, which are your traffickers, because you get used to it, right? It's such a messed up thing. But at that point, when that becomes your world, I cannot even imagine how you feel like there is any other world. Ugh. But there is. There definitely is. So this Hope for Justice website, their you know, overall mission is it's like a 4-step process. They're looking to prevent, rescue, restore, and reform, which I think is a really good overall approach. So they have outreach programs and groups with, you know, community education to empower people to protect themselves and their families, to know how to recognize predators and human traffickers. And I don't know about the word human trafficker, but it just doesn't seem like real. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you hear like child abductor, that seems so close to home, and like you want to be protective. When you hear human trafficking, it's like so detached and feeling like this can't happen to me.
Well, just it's such like, it's like slave trading, where it sounds so like something that just doesn't happen anymore, because this is like modern times, and like free will, free speech. Like, there are surveillance cameras and technology. You'd think that this wouldn't be happening. Yeah, like we aren't supposed to be treating people like this.
Like, we've gotten past this. Yeah, but it's not. There's still really, really awful humans around. And I think the other thing too is that, and this is where I think I just had the little like light bulb for myself, is that it seems like anything like where murder takes like the number one priority because it's so over the top awful in terms of like public demand of like we need to fix this, we need to stop this, like people are being murdered, versus trafficking, it's less visible as finding a body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds so awful. I'm just trying to understand like why this is not.
Well, because people are participating. Because they are like paying to.
Right. There's as many as there are victims. What does that mean? There's like double the amount of a-holes that are paying into these things. That's, I think, even, I mean, besides the fact, obviously, it's 100% awful that there are victims, and that so many people are victimized, but.
That's because there's a demand for it. You know?
That's sickening.
Yeah, and they say too, like with big sporting events in the U.S., like the Super Bowl and stuff.
That's what I heard too.
That the sex trafficking in that city, it's like
the
quadruple, or like there's so many victims. Then that's the whole thing of like transporting them to like where they know they're gonna get like business and stuff.
And that's where I wonder. I mean, is there ever a time where people don't realize that they're involved with human trafficking? I feel like it would be obvious.
Well, if you have to pay for it, it's obviously not someone that's like interested in you.
Right, but people still pay. There are, and that's where the line is drawn, right, between sex workers and human trafficking. Because there are sex workers who are proud of their jobs and want to be doing that and are consenting. But a victim of human trafficking may be consenting on the outside, but it feels stuck on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you... So then, they have those outreach programs. Sorry, we're having mental breakdowns over here. They also have, so the rescue part of it, they have specialists who actually work with police to identify victims of modern slavery and to build trust with them and like a safe environment.
That's good.
And remove them from exploitation and into safety, because it's not like you can just pluck them out of human trafficking. Like, they, not only are they considered a quote, like, asset to the human traffickers, but then now they're a liability to the whole operation if they reveal who they are or say how I got here, or know who the names are, right? So I can imagine that is extremely terrifying to come forward and be a rat and all that. Another process is the restoration. So they work with the victims to overcome the trauma and rebuild their lives. They offer different kinds of initiatives and support to help with vital needs, including survivor-centered aftercare is what they call it. So I think it's that ongoing rehabilitation. I don't like to call it rehabilitation, but like therapy, and basically unbrainwashing whatever has happened.
Yeah, especially depending on like how old they were when they were first taken,
or the type of trafficking that it is, and knowing that you can like go to an employer and not be locked up, or that you can hand HR your passport and know that you're not going to be taken away, and like, that's so scary. And then reform. So they have professionals who learn how to spot the signs of trafficking, how to respond, and then actually out there campaigning for change, like policy change. And so they help businesses protect their operations as well, to help them prevent feeding into the modern slavery. Because they're saying that there are businesses who might be freaking have their own human trafficking right under their noses and not even realize it.
Wow. That's
which
really
is totally, it's scary and insane. Let me go back to here. This one organization, just while I have it on here. Yeah, I think like what you said, $150 billion each year is made from forced labor, which is over $4,750 a second.
Jeez.
And they've rescued hundreds of people, including babies younger than 1 year old and adults up to the age of 63.
What? No.
Yeah. Just going back. Okay. So, I thought this had more on this. Oh. So then there's this within the, where did it go? Hope for, what's it called? Justice. I'm so bad if I don't have it right in front of me. They have this really cool PDF that's called Year in Review, and then you can like read through it, and it's quite long. If I'm not mistaken, it's 25 pages.
Oh wow.
But let me get down to there. Some of their stats, they've reached 71,900, and if you don't mind me also doing stats, 71,953 children through this organization. They've reintegrated 1,014 children into families. There are 5,513 women who are participating and empowered by the self-help groups. Wow. They've served 343,000 meals. They've taught over 7,000 classes at their Shine School for Survivors. They've trained 12,234 people globally.
Dang.
On how to, in all the respects of trafficking. And there were 7,917 interventions made by the UK advocacy group to help survivors.
Wow.
So it's pretty insane, and they have they're showing that an increase, although not 20 million, but a slow increase still in the thousands. In 2015 it was 23,000 children reached through their work. Now, as of last year, it was 71,000. So, it's increasing quite a bit. Let me go down. Where? Okay, so how you can help. That's kind of what I was looking for, and it was interesting facts on everything and the statistics on how they've helped, but not a lot of information at this moment on how we can help. So on that onepolarisproject.org website, it kind of reminded me of that, what was that website that we were talking about where I want to say it was about abuse? Like
the exploited children's one?
It must have been the exploited children. I thought it was a different one, but where you had like this website has a quick exit so that if
it was
remember?
It was for women who are in domestic violence situations. Yes. But I forget what the organization was called.
Gives me the chills. But yeah, this is similar in that they have a quick exit button at the bottom right-hand corner. Oh. So if someone, if you are a victim and you are looking, you can like quickly leave. They also have a phone number you can call, you can do a live chat, or you can text, which I don't necessarily, if you're trying to conceal that you're trying to escape trafficking, it's called you text Be Free. Oh. I kind of wish it was something like more generic for the sake of the
Yeah.
But I guess it's an easy way to remember if you need to text really quick. Anyways, you get the point. That's beside the point. But they have a national hotline, a trafficking hotline, which has 24/7 support and different options for the survivors and how to help and stay safe. And then they have a ton of law enforcement, service providers, trained hotline advocates who can take tips from people on suspected victims of human trafficking and from people in the community, and then they can also help survivors build plans so then they can safely leave their situation. So it doesn't mean they just pluck them from the trafficking, but they actually help them figure out as well how you're going to do this, which I think is good, because if they feel like they're dependent on someone to do, like, they're dependent, they become forced to become dependent from the human traffickers to do the other things, you don't necessarily want them to feel forced to leave either. You want it to be on their terms. Freedom, is a choice and all that. Ugh, that's such a scary thought. Freedom should be, freedom is not just a choice. Like, it's obviously inherent in our country, but if it is taken from you,
Yeah.
then at that point, I guess you have to figure out a way to. That's just awful. And the national hotline has more than 200 languages, so that's great. And they have a translation service as well as text, web, chat, and email in English and Spanish. And then it's actually operated by Polaris, and it's funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Is this the national hotline?
Yes. Do you have that?
Did you want to say it? Just in case anyone listening needs it right now.
Yes, that is 1-888-373-7888.
Mm-hmm. Or you can text 233733.
Yes. Oh, is that what Be Free? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that might be that number. Yeah. Oh.
If you like do the numbers versus the letters.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if it was saying text Be Free to that number or just text
it's probably
that
text
number.
Be Free to that number.
To that number, okay.
But it is the same amount of numbers.
Yes. But yeah, so that phone number again is 1-888-373-7888. And we'll have that link on our website as well. And they have global hotline counseling. They also have, I really like this website as well. They have like directories, and they have a Mexican National Human Trafficking Hotline that, specifically works for those who are, they actually work with a respected Mexican nonprofit, the Consejo Cuidadano, that is the country's first national human trafficking hotline. So that one's also up and running, and Polaris supports that organization as well. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to go international, just like the Hope for Justice is going international. So I think it's not a bad thing that there are several organizations where it seems like it would be good too if they were all working together, but I don't know how that works from like a nonprofit, standpoint. But it is good because they each have a different approach and different kinds. So I guess in that way, depending on how you feel, if you feel more comfortable going to the Hope for Justice versus Polaris then again, Hope for Justice is in different countries. So maybe if you're in that country, it's a little easier because they already have an existing network. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and is it Polaris is the one because that's the name of the Northern Star? Is that group? And that's because that's how slaves would escape?
Oh, I think so, because there is a star in the corner. Let's see. Sustain the fight against human trafficking. North Star Guide. Become a monthly donor. I'm going to say yes, just because it looks like this.
Oh, yeah, because I thought I saw that on their website of, like, why they called it that.
Maybe. I'm not good at looking at this quickly.
That's okay. We'll just say.
But yeah,
fact check later.
Yeah, you can donate, you can take action, you can fundraise, there's partnerships. They have other ways to give. You can do, they have like stocks and securities, ACH or wire transfer, IRA, planned giving, point and mile donations, purchase donations, employer matching, combined federal campaign. There is another website that had how to, oh, here it is. Take action. Wow. They have training for professionals. You can book a speaker. There are church partnerships. You can learn how to protect your business from modern slavery. You can pledge your birthday, which essentially this means that on your birthday you post the campaign online on how to spreading this awareness of human trafficking. But yeah, I feel like I've seen, and it's always in retrospect, right? That's the scary part. Like, I feel like I've seen that before, where it's like and it could even, to me, it looked more like don't know if this is politically correct, but like a mail order bride, where someone doesn't look like they should be in a relationship with that person. You're like, is that your grandpa or dad, or is that Like, are you forced into this relationship? It just didn't look like the person I saw. I was actually international, traveling. I won't say where I was because I don't want to make stigmas, but I was traveling, and it was just like this older, icky, made me heebie-jeebie, just so when you just get weird vibes from people. And then the girl he was with, it just, like, she wasn't eating. She was super, like, thin and, well, like, to herself. She didn't really look of age, to be honest. It just, all of it felt weird. And then she would, like, I was watching her, which is probably creepy, but I'm observant. So, and they're sitting in front of me, so it wasn't like I had to, like, turn and look at them. It just looked like she wasn't clearly unhappy, and then when he'd look at her, she'd, like, smile, and then when he'd look away, she'd, like, resume. I don't know. I kind of wish I had, like, done something then, but I didn't really know enough about it now. So I think about it still, which is not good. But now that I know this information, it's like...
And I feel like you can text that hotline because it's not just for...
Yeah. Like,
it's for advice and stuff, too.
Exactly. You know, and if someone you know is in it, like, you have to be understanding, too. That's what they're saying, right? Like, you can't just... When you're... Okay, there are some other questions. They have this, like, screening tools for victims of human trafficking. And where they're like, oh, like, you can ask them, like, can you leave your job if you want to? Can you come and go as you please? Have you ever been threatened? Like, if you try to leave. You can't just ask these questions. You have to be really sensitive and take, like, a, soft approach. And that's where reading about this and talking to people or getting professional help, like, if you really, suspect that, then there are ways, but you also have to be careful, because then what if they just up and take the operation and then they're gone?
Yep.
So it's not something that we're saying, like, don't not take action, but also don't interfere with.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to step in and, like, save anyone. Yeah. Probably if you really have a strong suspicion, probably the best thing would be to call that hotline.
Yeah.
Or a hotline, and they can help you.
Exactly. Because they're specifically working on... Because police have a lot going on. I feel like they have a case open for that, but it's something where at least these people are... optimized for this kind of situation, and then they already have enforcement contacts, so they can get to the right people in the right way.
Yeah. And these people could be violent, like the traffickers, so you don't want to
put yourself in danger or someone else in danger. Very scary. Yes, obviously pray that people listening aren't victims of trafficking, but you never know with those numbers. So it's, if you are, we told you the number, you can check out our website, and we'll have that. The Polaris website has the quick exit now button. So at least, you can leave it without, quote unquote, like a trace to get, more information.
Yeah.
And we'll have specific links too, so then it's easier. You don't have to, like, navigate the whole website. You can just... But all these are easy to use, so that I think for that reason, it's like, if people are on this, like, they need information now.
Yeah.
They're not there to, like, hang around and browse and read articles, But there are those too, in case you do want to read more about this. So it's pretty... just eye-opening.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy to think, because I always felt like... I've heard of, like, sex trafficking, but just to see those numbers, and, you hear that stat, too, of, like, there's more people in slavery now than there ever was, like, at any point in our human history.
Yeah, and that is not exactly what you'd think it to be.
No, but I don't know. It's depressing. But at the same time, there's a lot of ways to help, fundraising, volunteering.
Keeping your eyes open.
Being observant,
educating yourself and others, teaching your kids what bad people, like that there are bad people, and don't trust strangers. It's not to say you can't make friends, but just, I feel like those kinds of things, it's not even just your gut instinct, it's knowing the little things, kind of like we've talked about before. And I think it's what Karen from MFM has said, like, a simple thing like adults don't ask kids for help.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like very simple little things. Like if someone goes out of their way for you and you just met them, like take a second to like wonder like why is this? Like people do have ulterior motives. And I think it's okay to recognize that and then make your own decisions from there. You know?
Yeah.
Ulterior. That sounds like a dog. Ulterior.
Aww, come here, little ultie.
Ew. Ulterior motive. Yeah, an alternate or an extrinsic reason for doing something, especially when concealed or when differing from the stated or apparent reason.
There you go. There's your word of the day.
Ulterior motive with a U. Well, now we know. Now you know.
Yeah.
But it's important to talk about.
That's the first step. If people recognize what an issue it is.
Yeah. And if you feel upset or gross, good, because that means you're human.
Let's take action.
Yeah. I feel like we should make a day dedicated to taking action.
Yeah. I would like to volunteer more.
Yeah. Or at least like we're doing spreading awareness, but maybe even on social media we'll have to come up with take action. No day of the week starts with an A. Take action Tuesday, but that's also our episode release day.
Oh.
Is that selfish? We'll think about it. I think that'd be cool though to to post something on certain days of the week. Or something like that. And then people can give us their ideas or sources or stories or something like this.
Yeah, or any organizations that they're affiliated with.
Yeah, or donate, or donating or volunteering, etc. But that's that. That was mentally exhausting. In the not in like in a selfish way, but like in I can't even imagine. But it's like imagine it because it is happening. It's nothing to be imagined. It's real life. Yeah. Oy, oy, oy. And
so that's
for it's sucky to think like, okay, then what? Like, what's the next episode? But that's kind of how a podcast works. So unfortunately, because it's not our whole podcast, that's how we have to do this. But anyways, wow. What's next?
I don't know.
I have one. Or this is interesting. This is not interesting. There's a couple different ones that I have seen that could be next episode topics. Similar to what we talked about, which is not great. And let me back up. Excruciatingly disgusting is, and kind of what we're talking about, is did you hear about Boy Scouts filing bankruptcy due to sexual misconduct cases? I mean, we could go down that route of like, where are your kids? Are your kids safe?
Oh no.
Because from what I've heard, there's people that are like, Boy Scouts are great. Like, there's so many, don't look bad at the Boy Scouts, but then they're filing for bankruptcy. But then I've also seen like job openings for Boy Scouts, which is really, I don't know if it's a different Boy Scouts, like a local one, or if it's Boy Scouts of America. But I've seen job openings, and I'm like, why are you hiring right now when you're filing for bankruptcy? I have a lot of questions. That's one idea. We can go down that rabbit hole of hell. Or we can talk about something else. But any way we do look at it, it's uncomfortable. As evident by our faces. I feel like my face this whole time has been like, ugh, like I can't. Ugh. We don't have to do that. We can change it.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's ready for that.
Yeah.
Another one is I saw a video of a family dodging a train because they were doing a photo shoot on train tracks.
No.
In the modern day
come on.
The things that we think are not happening but are happening.
For social media.
What? Oh, for
Well, 'cause
social.
I'm assuming
You're
they're
talking about the
taking
trains.
for
I thought you
photos.
meant on social media. I'm like,
No.
what?
Anything for the perfect picture.
Doing it for the gram, as they say. Nowadays, I feel like it's for the TikTok, but that's probably the safest app of them all, because most people do that in their bathroom.
TikTok?
It seems like.
Maybe we should do that because there's like the challenges that are skull fracturing people.
I did see that on the news. Let's do
The danger of social
the
media.
dangers of social media.
Ooh.
Do you want to do the TikTok, and I'll do for the gram?
Okay.
I wonder if those are real things. I mean, that's kind of similar to Momo Challenge in Blue Whale, except for the fact that people are recording these things.
Yeah. Well, we can
See what happens.
see what happens.
Ugh. That's also scary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dear. Well, we're starting to yawn.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm just like, whoa. All right, well, that's what we'll do. Nervous itchies.
Ooh, I know.
That's what we'll do for next week. And F all of this. And this is terrifying and sad. Go to our website, you'renotparanoid.com. We're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And we're going to, as a world, we're going to
Fight
this. Yeah. Our website is you'renotparanoid.com. You can follow us on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. At You're Not Paranoid?
Mm-hmm. And on Twitter.
At YNP Podcast.
You can email us at
You're Not Paranoid at gmail.com.
correct. You can also send us your stories or things you think we should talk about, et cetera, et cetera. And, hey, maybe you send us a story that we can talk about. We'll send you a sticker.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Yeah, rate, review, subscribe.
Yeah.
Below or above or wherever.
Give
it
us one
goes.
of these.
Yeah.
Not
or
one of these.
give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And be nice about our faces, because they're what we have, and this is how we express ourselves. I do feel like my face is stuck, though, in a permanent
I kind of feel
confused scowl.
I feel like I was hugging myself the whole time.
Yeah, just like self-comfort. And then I was just like, the whole time. Which is an angry scowl. So there we go. That's that.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind stories to close this episode?
No.
Or funny story?
No.
Katie just looks very upset. Understandable. Well, sometimes my cat gurgles when he gargles when he asks for food.
Gargles?
Like he makes different meows depending on, kind of like how Georgia's cat Elvis will like, Elvis, you want a cookie? Oh, that's not how her voice sounds. Elvis, you want a cookie? And he's like every time. My cat will sometimes have like a cute meow, which is like, oh, I'm hungry. And then when he's like really fed up with my BS and he's like, B word, feed me right, mother, meowing now. It's like it's a weird, like he's had it up to here. Like he's literally going to throw up. He's so hungry. Kind of a meow. Like he's like, this is it.
So you better come get me some food.
Exactly. This morning we were cuddling and he nibbled on my ear. That was kind of weird.
He Mike Tyson you?
Yeah. Meow Tyson. I don't know how to say that. It's too late.
It's there
We're done.
somewhere.
This is it. Wrap it up. Cut us off. We're done.
Goodbye.
Katie, you want a cookie?
Is this like that?
It's not a dragon. Oh my gosh.
Oh, well, it could be.
That would be really funny if we started. I feel like we'd get sued though, because that's kind of like their catchphrase.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, you want a shot of vodka?
Yes.
And that's it. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.